Today, what can we do for the growth of the kingdom of God? Look at the gigantic universe. We cannot measure the entire universe today, but scientists say that 14 billion years ago, that means before the Big Bang, universe was inside a minute bubble thousands of times smaller than a pinhead. So, the great universe was once a minute atom. Look at the mighty ocean. Although it is so vast, once it was a little drop of water. Look at the biggest forest today. Can you imagine that once it was a little seed? Every great thing today had small beginnings. So, have you ever felt that you are so small and insignificant and your ideas really don't matter? If you have felt that you are small and insignificant, today's gospel is for you. Today, in the Holy Gospel, Jesus tells us the parable of the mustard seed. Mustard seed is not just a small seed, but it is so tiny and a hardly visible seed. Jesus compares the kingdom of God to a mustard seed which a man took and planted in his field. When sown on the field, it is the smallest of all the seeds. But when it grows, it becomes the largest of all plants in the garden. In the same manner, kingdom of God is filled with multitudes of people, but it started in a very little scale. How insignificant and small were the beginnings of the kingdom which Jesus inaugurated. Those who joined Jesus were unlearned fishermen, tax collectors, the poor and common folk. But how rapid was the growth of the church? As Gospel says, the mustard seed grew so big that the birds of the air could take shelter in its shade. Huge mustard tree became a shelter for various kinds of birds. So the church became the home for Jews as well as for various types of Gentiles. Universality is a true mark of the church, and it knows no boundaries of nations or races. Men of all nations find shelter and nourishment in it. In today's first reading from the prophet Ezekiel, we find the same example. Lord says that he would take a tender twig from the top of the cedar and plant it on a lofty mountain. This is one of the prophecies of messianic restoration. The shoot planted on the highest mountain is the descendant of David. Jesus Christ is the seed of David. Further, Ezekiel says it will produce branches and fruit and become a wonderful cedar. Birds of all kinds will find shelter in its branches. Therefore, it is Jesus Christ who inaugurated this kingdom, and we see the universality of God's kingdom as it includes all kinds of nations and races. One of the most beautiful things in the kingdom of God is God can work with the smallest of things to build them into the biggest. Today, Christianity has reached all around the world. God takes small beginnings and He turns them into great endings. So, today don't underestimate the little things that God calls you to. You never know what God might turn that small thing into. Since our birth, we have grown physically. With the education we received, we have grown intellectually. Then, what about our spirituality? In our spiritual lives, the Lord has planted the seed of faith, and it grows gradually. For this, we also should prepare the necessary atmosphere. We should improve on our prayer life. We have to read the scriptures, life stories of saints, and other spiritual literature. On the other hand, we should not hide the talents, skills, and the strengths that we have. It is our duty to use whatever the small talent that we have for the kingdom of God. When we make these small beginnings in our spiritual life, God will eventually turn them into great endings. When our spirituality grows, it is Jesus who is going to bear fruit in our lives. Finally, we will be transformed into another Christ. So, this is the moment to start. Amidst the pandemic, amidst natural disasters and various difficulties, let us improve on our spirituality and let us give out the little that we have for the service of the kingdom of God. Then one day God will turn our small beginning into a great ending.